Hi everybody, we're in the lab today and you know what that means? Teardown time. We have a dash or an instrument cluster here from a ZE1 Nissan Leaf. We're going to pull it apart, see what's inside, then we'll do a brief step through on how to convert it from Japanese to English, and at the very end we'll check that pinout on the back. Welcome to EV for me. This is it. This is our ZE1 instrument cluster or dash or binacle. We can see we have our little analog meter here for speed, and then we have our little digital display here on that side. General three-piece construction. So we have clear on the front, and we have black in the middle, and then we have our white backing here. And it all just kind of breaks apart quite nicely. If we have a look at the back, we can see we've got plugs here, 2 plugs, and if I remember correctly, this plug was used for power and CAN bus data, and I can't quite remember what this plug was, but we'll go through the pinouts later on. We have a little test port here. So what happens is during manufacture, this goes down the assembly line and it gets hooked up to a rig, and a probe goes into the back and runs through all sorts of diagnostics just to make sure the dash or instrument cluster is fully functional. If it gets a green light, it passes and goes further down the manufacturing line. If it gets a red light, well, might get chucked in the bin for parts or fixed or something of that nature. And we also have a little port here, some contacts in there. Not sure what that's all about, but we'll have a deeper look. If we have a look at its part number here, we can see it is part number 24810-5SK0B, made in India, which is really surprising. I thought it would have been made in China, but there you go. And if we have a look at the date, it was manufactured on the 29th of June 2019. So this would have gone into probably the second batch of long-range Nissan Leafs, or E Plus, 62 kilowatt. It's made in Japan. That was manufactured between, July and September 2019. So, this dash would have serviced a Nissan Leaf with a serial number of ZE1-058000, so 58,000 upwards. So it's still fairly new. It's pretty much less than 2 years old. So, and that's about it. We'll power up our dash quickly with our breakout box, and then we'll move forward and tear it apart. Let's see if this dash powers up. I only got it from Japan a week ago. So there we go. It's all powered up. Ignore that. That's just a handbrake alarm. It's just because the dash cannot see the CAN bus and communicate with anything in the car. And what we'll do is we'll clear that alarm. We'll put it in sleep mode. Done. And you can see from our timers there, the dash is all in Japanese at the moment. So yeah, let's push on, and we'll strip the dash down. First of all, we've got to break the front plastic away, and we've got to disengage a few clips around the outside. So we'll work on that now. Push down on this clip here and just release it. Throw in a guitar pick. Disengage our side clip here. There we go. That's broken away. We'll move to the other end. We'll just disengage this clip here. Push down again. And break that plastic away. We'll do the one on the side. Push it in, break it away. So as you see, things are starting to loosen up here. We have another clip down here in the corner. We're going to push that in, working along the bottom edge. We have another clip here. Push it in. Another one here. Push that in. Bottom one here. Push that in. And hopefully our front face should break away. There it is. This is our front face. And we'll just put this up the back on the towel just to protect it. And we have broken the first plastic shield here, and next we'll work on breaking the white section away from the back of the dash itself. We need to extract 2 screws at the back here, so we'll quickly do that now. Same process again, we have clips around the edge, so we're going to disengage all of those clips and we'll work our way around the body yet again, and we'll use guitar picks where we need to separate it if needed. First one here, move to the one in the corner here. Push that away. Just kind of drop a pick in there. One around the back. Here. Push that in. Working our guitar pick around the edge. Working back along the top. Disengage this one here. Using our pick as leverage. Here we are again around the edge. Working down the side, push that in, upside down, the 4 on the bottom, and it should break away. And there we have our front black bezel broken away from the actual dash itself. We just need to release these clips around the outside yet again, and we'll use our separators where we need to. So we'll start from the top and then move down from the sides, starting on this clip here, then moving to the corner, taking out a little clip on the side, pushing forward. We have a gap here already. Go to the other side, pushing in our top clip here, and we'll disengage our bottom clip here at the same time. A little bit of pressure, they never make this easy. There we go. Gently break that away. And we'll work along the bottom. We have a few clips here. And when we disengage these clips on the bottom, we're just going to make sure the face breaks away cleanly and doesn't come crashing down on the lab bench. And there's our face. We'll just break it away. And we'll place that back down. Next, grab the black bezel that was removed before and just slot that over like this, and then pick up both assemblies and flip it over. And that will protect the face, and it'll give you a little stand to work on. Right, this is the back of the dash unit. We have our two little plugs here. We have our little power supply section here. We've got our capacitors, filter capacitors, and a couple of regulators over here. This is the needle of the speedo itself. It's probably a little stepper motor. And we have our primary processor here, or brain. And we'll have a look at this shield up in the top left. And just peel that up. And again, we have another little CPU or brain and a little bit of RAM off to the side. And this is part of the display driver assembly, the one that drives all the display information and fun things like that. This is our ribbon cable just going to the display on the other side. And with the actual CPU here, this is the one that runs the whole show, and it grabs all its information from a little chip here, which is called an eeprom chip. An eeprom chip is just a chip that holds a small repository of information. So it contains data such as odometer, trip meter, language, features that are installed on the Nissan Leaf. And this is where we actually change the language. We can change it from Japanese to English, or Dutch, German, French, or any other kind of common language in the world today. And that's the actual next bit we'll have a closer look at, this little eeprom chip down there. This is a closer look at our eeprom and CPU. And again, as I mentioned before, this is the main brain of the dash. And it just stores information on this eeprom. It just writes it. And it's easy to identify the eeprom on a large printed circuit board like this, because it's the only real 8-pin chip that sits very close to CPU. And it sits close because it has to communicate to it over a very short distance, over a SPI protocol or a serial protocol. And it's just the way that the chips, a language that they talk to each other over. So what happens is the CPU will write odometer information. It'll pick up language information and configuration of the actual car on this chip. And this chip is good for many millions of read and write cycles. So it's very reliable. And as I said before, it's a small repository of information. So it just basically holds the configuration of the car on this chip. And this is a chip we're going to extract and change its configuration from Japanese to English and many other languages. So yeah, we'll get on with that right now. We've actually rotated the job around, so our processor is at this end now, and we can see our little eeprom chip. So what we're going to do is we're going to smash our eeprom chip with a little bit of hot air around 200 degrees Celsius, but not work too closely. And we're just going to remove all this conformal coating. So we'll make a bit of a start on that now. Here's the nozzle of our hot air, and we're just running it in circles, just heating around the chip and warming all that conformal coating. And conformal coating is all this bluey greeny stuff. It's kind of like a lacquer, and it's there to put over the chip and CPUs and all sorts of things, just to protect them from moisture in humid regions. So that should be warming our conformal coating up quite nicely. I'll try and peel some of this off. Here we go. This peels off quite easily once it's heated up. Just dig a slight perimeter around the chip. The trick is to slowly pick out the conformal coating around the chip and not tear up any tracks. And you're going to be very careful with this. You don't want to tear up tracks or anything like that. So whether it takes 5, 10 or 15 minutes, it's worth doing the job properly and not half-assed. It looks like that's about it. We've got as much conformal coating off as we can. And it's very important that we protect this chip as much as possible, because you want to get a good read of hex data off this chip, because this will be your only copy if things go wrong. We're just applying some regular solder to both sides of the chip, just to form a little bit of a bead along all the legs, and that'll help us extract the chip in a nice and safe manner. Run up and down the legs, and we'll come in at the opposite angle and hit this side, form that nice bead with regular solder. Reform this bead on the other side. Lovely. And we're going to use the 2 iron technique to push off. So we've got 2 beveled irons in here. Just quickly heat up one side and the other. And then try and detach that chip. Push off nice and gently. Keep our chip intact. Give it a slight prod with the iron here. And we've broken it away. Hardest part of breaking this chip away is the conformal coating can sometimes get underneath the chip. So what we'll do is we'll push our chip off to the side, and we'll clean up our solder pads on the PCB. Clean the whole area down nice and lightly with the iron. Spray some isopropylene alcohol down. Get a quick toothbrush in here. Just clean the whole area up a little bit. Nice and gently. And you can see those pads are undamaged. They're coming up nice and clean. And what we're doing here is we're cleaning the pins. It's getting a bit of a blob of solder. And working that through. Getting rid of any contaminants. And we're going to go back in with our wick again. And suck off any of that excess solder. There we go, wick it. Nice and clean. Let's get a Kimtech wipe in there. And there we go. Our pads are all clean. It's ready for the chip to go back down again. And this is what micro soldering is all about. You know, it's not a skill, it's an art. And just to make sure we have nice, reliable contacts. We haven't broken off any tracks here, removing all that conformal coating. So we need that nice and reliable for when the chip goes back in after we reprogram it. What we're doing here is we're just cleaning our chip now. We just got the chip up against something semi-solid. There we go. Lovely. Now we'll do the other side. Let's heat up those pins. And that side is all clean. Our chip goes into a bath of isopropylene alcohol. We just let it sit in there and let any other conformal coating melt away in the isopropylene alcohol. We'll put our eeprom chip into the adapter. I hate this bit. Always comes flying out. There we go, on the first go. So that locks in around the chip, and we're making sure that the little dot in this corner orientates with the top left, which is pin 1. Now, with this adapter, we can plug it into any one of these 4 programmers. We've got our little homemade programmer here, or we can use the cheaper eBay programmers here. These are about 6 or 7 years old. They're like, I don't know, $20 or $30 each. Or we can use our more expensive programmer here. That's a $200 job, and this is about 3 years old. So what we'll do is we'll select this programmer here. It's the most modern one. We'll hook it up to a laptop, and we'll try and do a read of this eeprom chip. We open up our reader software, select our chip, and then we do a read. This is the code on our eeprom. We'll just do some modifications and then upload it back onto the actual eeprom itself. All changes are done. So now we write it to the eeprom chip. We've changed those 3 hexabytes of code to convert it from Japanese to English. So now it's time to put the chip back into the actual dash. Just tinning up the pads, a little bit of solder. Make sure the chip's got something to stick to. Beautiful. Now we're just getting our chip in position. There we go. Get the legs up on top of those pads, and we'll just have a crack at pin 1. Try and get that to melt. Then go to next pin down, next pin after that, next pin after that. So that's one side done. We've turned the job around, so we're going to hit it from the other side. We'll just hit it with a little bit of extra flux. Give these pins a quick tap. Get them to bond properly. To tidy it all up, we're going to use some hot air, and that should get the chip to sit in place. Round and round, just trying to get those joints to melt. There we are. The chip's all in. And that's what you pay the big bucks for, to get this chip locked in safely and properly. We'll apply some isopropylene alcohol and just give it a clean up with a toothbrush. Get rid of all that flux. Make everything look neat and shiny. And just to put this into perspective, to show you how tiny this chip is, this is a match head. As you can see, this chip is about the same width as a match head. Very tiny indeed. So this is not one of those jobs, an everyday person can do in their back garage with a $20, Dick Smith soldering iron. We'll plug in the dash to test it. Turn it on. Put it into sleep mode to get rid of that annoying alarm. Check our voltage going into pin 8, which is just here at the top. We'll bring up our digital multimeter, and it's going to be around 5 volts, I gather. I'll just put that on the leg, and we have 5 volts. So that's all fine for our little eeprom chip. Now we will flip it over and see if the display has changed from Japanese to English. Okay, let's see if it's in English. Winner, winner. It's been converted to English, and we'll put it into sleep mode quickly. And we can see that even the timers are in English as well. And as shown last year, you can also convert these dashes to French, Spanish, German, Dutch, and Portuguese. So yeah, these dashes will do pretty much all the European languages. Now we'll assemble the dash back together, and we'll have a look at the pinouts on the back of the dash itself. This is our primary connector. This is a 40-pin connector made by the company called Hmmmmmm, and the connector type is a TH40FW-NH, and it basically consists of a top and a bottom row. The top row goes from left to right, 1 through to 20. The bottom row goes left to right, 21 all the way to 40. So we'll address the top row first, and this will be quick. The top row consists of pin 8 and pin 10, which is your CAN bus. Also pin 12 and pin 14, which is your CAN bus highway as well. So if you remember from previous videos, the CAN bus is just a little communications channel or highway which goes all around the car to different modules within the car. So you're talking battery management system, the stereo, the dash, vehicle control module, body control module, and various little computers within the car. And that little communications channel just allows these different components to chat to each other and pass on information telemetry, just to keep the car basically functioning. It's as simple as that. We'll move on to the bottom row. Pin 21 is our battery. Pin 23 is our ignition pin. Pin 25, which is our accessory pin. These are pretty much self-explanatory. Pin 30 is our park brake switch. And then we have pins 35 and 36, plus pin 19 being the return line. This is our steering wheel switch assembly. So that's the up and down and the left and right and the enter and return for your steering wheel control. And that's just a small lattice of resistors and switches which passes all that relevant information to the dash itself, so you can navigate up and down and all over the dash. And then we move on to our last two. This is our ground or negative. Pin 40 being the primary power ground, and pin 39 being our illumination ground. So that basically covers us off on the primary connector into the back of the dash. Now we move on to the secondary connector. The secondary connector is a 16-pin connector made by the same company, Hmmmmmm, and this connector is known as a TH16FW-NH, and it's just an expansion of our primary connector. So it goes from left to right, top row, pins 41 through to 48, and left to right, bottom row, pins 49 through to 56. And the only noteworthy pins on this connector is pin 49, which is the LED headlamp left, and pin 50 right next to it, which is a LED headlamp right. These look like headlamp sensing pins. So it just detects whether your headlamps or headlights are operative. And apart from that, every other pin on this connector is blank. There's just nothing else here. So that covers off the primary and secondary connector on the back of our dash unit or instrument cluster itself. That's our teardown complete of the ZE1 instrument cluster or dash. If you want to find out where you can get your dash converted from Japanese to English, check the description down below. I'm not really interested in doing them because I'm a little bit busy doing YouTube videos. As usual, if you want to follow our EV adventures, go to our Twitter page, EV4Me2. Check that out. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell if you want to find out when more content's coming out. And we will see you next time.